Greetings, YouTube family. My name is Labrina, and this is my new YouTube channel, and it goes by the name of Labrina Heart Speaks. And I'm here to speak with you today to share my story. And it's a story that was totally unexpected and kind of took me by surprise, me and my family by surprise. And the reason why is because pretty much it felt like what seemed like overnight. I was given a death sentence, from what it felt like to me in the beginning anyway, before I learned more about exactly what it is. So on April 15th of this year, 2022, I found myself at urgent care. And to my surprise, well, I went in because I was having breathing problems, just severe breathing problems, where that started November 27th of 2021. And I made a appointment with my doctor, but my doctor never contacted me back. I called the office and left maybe 3 messages, and no one called me back. So from there, fast forward to April 15th, 2022, I found myself at urgent care with breathing problems, thinking that it was something wrong with my lungs. Although I had never had any asthma or bronchitis or anything like that as an adult, no previous breathing problems. I wasn't sick at the time. It just was out of nowhere. When I initially started having the breathing problems back in November. So I went to the urgent care that day, and I walked up to the counter, and they hooked me up to a pulsometer device that that goes on your finger, so they can see what your heart rate, what it looks like, what it's beating at. And mine registered at 122 to everyone's surprise. And the girl behind the desk, she was pretty alarmed. She looked pretty alarmed. And I wasn't sure what my heart rate was supposed to be in the first place, so I didn't know what number I should have expected to see. All I know is I had literally just gotten out of the car and walked into the place, and that didn't exert very much energy. So I would think, but in my case, it did. I was at 122 heart rate, and that was supposed to pretty much be at rest. So the doctor immediately came from behind the desk. She had went to get the doctor. He came from behind the desk. They immediately took me in the back and hooked me up to the EKG machine. And to everyone's surprise, after they were able to get a successful reading after 3 tries, they couldn't even get a proper reading at first. But when the doctor came in, made sure everything was hooked up correctly, The printout showed that I had an oversized heart, from what they told me, an oversized heart. That really surprised me. Wasn't expecting to hear that. I thought they were gonna tell me I had some sort of issue with my lungs again. I was thinking I had some sort of lung issue the entire time, but they said I had an oversized heart, enlarged heart, and they had diagnosed me with cardiomegaly. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Cardiomegaly. And they went on to tell me that I have congestive heart failure. And I was totally surprised. I wasn't expecting that. I was in shock. I was totally in shock from hearing that news and scared all at the same time. Didn't know what to think. I'm like wondering how all of a sudden this comes from out of nowhere, because I've been pretty, I would say, healthy all of my life. Played sports when I was younger, played all sorts of sports, cheerleading, drill team, dance production. In high school, played hardball when I was 9 years old, only girl on the team. Um, Total athlete, all my life. And played softball, was second base, varsity in high school. Um, I ran track and field from when I was a kid. Ran track and field in high school. Just totally the entire time playing sports, varsity sports. Um, Advanced athlete, and didn't see this coming. That's for sure. I would always go to the doctor. Um, wasn't afraid to go to the doctor. Never once did the doctor say I had any sort of heart condition. Um, so to be 45 years old today, with the birthday coming up in August, God willing, just I'm still really just totally in shock that I've been diagnosed with, I guess you could say, it's heart disease as well, coupled into one. I would consider myself to be a healthy eater. I mean, I eat vegetables, fruit and vegetables. I don't eat a lot of fried foods. I will say that I didn't realize how much salt actually is in a lot of the food that I ate. So that could have been an issue. I know that when I was 19 years old, I went to the doctor, and the doctor told me that I had high blood pressure, and he put me on high blood pressure medicine. But again, because I felt fine, and people always say you don't look sick. I mean, I didn't feel sick. I didn't look sick. Um, and I didn't feel like I should be on the medication that doctor put me on. But again, I was only 19 years old at the time, and I was ignorant to the fact about what I know today about high blood pressure and just healthcare in general overall. Had I known then what I know now, I would have continued taking the medicine, but I only took it temporarily. And when the doctor at age 19 told me that I would be on that high blood pressure medicine for the rest of my life, I was defiant. I told them no, I wouldn't. And of course, shortly after, I took myself off of that medication and continued on with my life. And had never had any surgeries, had never went into the hospital for anything major, to have anything removed, any organs removed or anything like that. So, I mean, fast forward to April 15th this year, 2022, going to urgent care because of the breathing problems that I had, and hearing that I have congestive heart failure. I didn't know what to think. I didn't even really know what that was, but I do know that my grandmother on my mother's side, she passed away from having an enlarged heart and congestive heart failure when she was just 39 years old. I was 2 years old at the time when we lost her. So I think this is hereditary, and really it's such a new diagnosis that I'm going through a lot of testing right now, and I'm on YouTube to share my story because I know that there are, I'm sure, a lot of other people that are out there who have a similar um, maybe background or makeup or lifestyle, or who look like me, and I mean some who don't, um, but who can look at my story and learn from it, or learn more information that they didn't know, and maybe they can help a friend or a family member or anyone that they run into. um, I know that, of course, I wasn't aware of the signs of what congestive heart failure is. I mean, I am now because I actually, looked at several YouTube videos after this happened to me just to learn more about what to expect, what it is, a lot of what the signs are that you should look for, and kind of trying to help myself to figure out what this is, how to fight it, and pretty much learn what the next step should be. Um, because I'm definitely here to grow old. Um, I'm not ready to check out anytime soon, so I'm gonna fight this with everything I've got. And I pretty much have taken it upon myself to educate myself and to ask questions, and talk to as many people as I can, to learn as much as I can, as fast as I can. And I'm not even used to being in front of the camera, especially talking about something like this, something that's so private and um, facing the world with this condition. But again, I'm here to share my story because I know that it could help a lot of people. And I'm not perfect at shooting videos or anything like that, but I got over that. Um, so just forgive me if I'm on here looking crazy, or if I make mistakes. I'm human. Um, but I just wanted to get the information to whomever needs it, and I'm learning along the way. So please be patient with me. I'm thankful that you're here and to learn more about what congestive heart failure is and what it does. And I'm here to answer any questions that anybody might have as to, how it affects you. Because although it's new to me, I've already gone through a lot. I've gone through a whole lot already. I've already had 2 hospital stays in a matter of April, May, June, July. In a matter of just 3 months, I've already been in the hospital twice. Never saw that coming. So shortly after I went to urgent care on April 15th, I found myself in the emergency room by April 28th. And 28, 29, 30. And they didn't discharge me from the hospital until April 30th. So I was in there for 3 days. And that's because I just could not breathe. My breathing issue had gotten so bad that I had to drive myself to the emergency room. And they wind up keeping me. At first they were going to let me go home. And then I guess the physician's assistant took another look at my chart and came back and told me, we're going to keep you because your cardiac enzymes are elevated. And so that's when I learned cardiac enzymes should not be so elevated. That's not a good thing. That is not a good look at all. So, of course, I was scared. I was there by myself, and I didn't know what that exactly meant, other than they told me that that wasn't a good thing for my heart enzyme levels to be that high. And that's pretty much been the case throughout for both stays, in both hospital stays. So I stayed in that hospital for 3 days, and on that second day, they performed what's called an angiogram on me, and I didn't know what an angiogram was. I know now. I've already had 2 of them. So the angiogram is what they like to do pretty much if you go into the hospital with a heart condition. They like to do an angiogram just in case. And I didn't understand that the second time I went into the hospital, but I understand now that they like to do that just in case to see if you have any blockages either on your left side of your heart or your right side of your heart. They actually look at both, and they like to go through your right artery in your wrist when at all possible. If you have that limb, they like to go through that side. But if they aren't able to go through that side, they'll try to go through your groin and your leg. I never want them to go through that because it's too much muscle for them to go through, and I just think that it's going to take you much longer to heal, and it's going to be much more painful. This is what my scar looks like can see it here. It's right there. I have two of them now, and that's from both angiograms. I had an angiogram the first time back in April when I went into the hospital, and again most recently when I just went into the hospital on July 9th. And they kept me for 6 days this time, and they let me out on July 14th. And this was a harder time. This stay was a harder time for me in the hospital. And the reason why I went into the hospital this time is because on the 9th, which was a Saturday, in the morning, I actually had a heart attack. I found out that it was in fact a heart attack. At first they said it wasn't, but I don't know why I had a heart attack. I wasn't doing anything strenuous or anything that I know of. I woke up that morning like I always do, and I took my medicine like clockwork in the morning, and then when I first was diagnosed, they started me out on about 3 different medications that I have to take every day, pretty much for the rest of my life. And I'm live. That was my mom in the background. She didn't know that I was live on YouTube. So I went from taking 3 different medications from first going into the hospital to now taking 8 medications. I think that's the count right now. 8 medications. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm the type of person that hates to take medication. I have to be half dead in order to pop a pill. I'd much rather do like a natural remedy, natural home remedy. That's usually preferred for myself if I have the choice, or if I have the choice. I'm always going to choose the natural home remedy. So that's just first and foremost what should be known. One of the pills that they usually give you for the congestive heart failure it's a water pill. They refer to it as a water pill. And usually it's called like furosemide. And they had me on about 40 milligrams of that. And what that does is I learned by mistake that pill is very important. It really helps you a lot to make sure that you keep the water off of your lungs. It makes it easier for you to be able to sleep at night, because the water isn't filling your lungs up when you try to lay down. And if anyone doesn't know, congestive heart failure patients can't lay flat. It's very difficult to lay flat. And that's because usually if there's fluid on the lungs, if it's your left heart that's damaged, then that's consistent with usually the left side of the heart being damaged. Then you'll probably have problems breathing, and it's horrible actually to not be able to breathe. That was like one of the worst symptoms, and I had never felt that before. So that was very difficult for me, and that made me the saddest, is knowing that I had to suffer like that, and even thinking about just future suffering of not being able to breathe. That was a scary thing. And that is what upset me a lot too. Even just knowing was just asking the questions like, why me? Why? And then to be given something like congestive heart failure where there's so much suffering involved with it. Lots of suffering involved. Uh, so not only do you have to worry about the risk of possibly having heart attacks and chest pains and pain in your arm, just different symptoms like that that comes along with it. Um, just one of the main things is not being able to breathe, and so that's why they use that term congestive, because the congestion is the fluid that builds up on your lungs, and then when you lay down, it's exacerbated. It gets even worse because the fluid spreads to a larger area. So, as a heart patient, we actually have to sleep propped up. If you can imagine sleeping at a 60-degree angle, a 60-degree angle every night is pretty difficult to try to get comfortable. Sleeping on a whole lot of pillows, propped up to a 60-degree angle, and then trying to balance all night on lots of pillows, and hopefully, not slipping and sliding down off the pillows. So for me, I know for me, when that happens, I'm usually exerting a lot more energy than necessary than I should. So some people have to just get um, order a hospital bed. So I definitely asked my doctor to order me a hospital bed because I could just push a button and be at the 60-degree angle. At that point, I don't have to keep fighting with pillows that keep sliding from under me. So I'm here again with my new channel, Labrina Heart Speaks, to help whoever it is out there that I'm supposed to come into contact with, related to, the symptoms to look for, the actual condition itself, so that I can be of help and of service to someone else who may also be dealing with the same thing and not knowing what to expect, and maybe I've already gone through something that you haven't. Like this was my first heart attack, hopefully first and last. I'm too young, I think, to be having a heart attack, and wasn't doing anything to my knowledge to have a heart attack. I took the furosemide pill, like I do, and like I'm supposed to every morning, so that I won't have any complications. The pills actually help me to stay alive, and that's why you want to make sure that you continue taking your pills. A lot of people, they get sick and they stop taking their pills, but I don't think that's a good thing. I used to be one of those people, and I learned the hard way. And I think if you just have more knowledge and ask more questions, and a lot of times you do have to ask a lot of questions, a lot more questions, because people are not going to volunteer information. They're not going to volunteer anything. A lot of times they're just trying to do their job and get you out of the way. They're trying to do their job and get on to the next patient, get on to the next person to help. They are not trying to take any extra time to sit there and explain to you verbatim what you need to do, how you need to do it. They're not going to hold your hand at all. You're going to have to take the initiative and be proactive in fighting the condition, whatever your condition may be. Mine happens to be this congestive heart failure, and so far I'm winning the fight. That's the good news, is I'm already winning. So you have to stay positive, and I chuckle. It makes me laugh because a lot of people that I run into, they always tell me, Labrina, you sure are taking this well. You sure are taking this good. And I always think to myself, man, how should I be taking it? I mean, I'm a very positive person in life anyway, so it's just natural for me to take things one day at a time and not try to stress out over it, because I know that I only have so much control over certain things, and I'm not really a sad type of person, that a person that walks around sad and moping and things like that all the time. I'm the kind of person that not so chipper in the morning. I'm a person that likes to stay up late. I'm a night owl, but when I do get up in the morning, I mean, I'm a good morning type of person. Hey, sunshine type of person, or hey there, sunshine. So I always try to stay positive, and I would definitely suggest that anyone else out there who may be suffering from this or going from this or diagnosed from this recently or in the past, stay positive and keep fighting, because you can't really listen also to a lot of the negative talk that either family or friends might speak into your ear, because I've gone through that too, and hearing negative comments and things like that from family members family and friends who you would think would understand, but I think a lot of times people don't really think about what they're saying, so they come across as being pretty mean for some of the things that they say concerning, like, why I'm sick or how I got sick, or just me being sick, just in general. And again, I'm being told that this is something that's hereditary, since my grandmother on my mother's side died from this at age 39, as I mentioned before, and one of her daughters was just diagnosed with congestive heart failure, just like I was recently diagnosed. She was diagnosed last year, so I pretty much found out that she was diagnosed with congestive heart failure when I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. That's when my mother shared with me that she too is suffering from it. So we've been in contact, and we've pretty much been sharing information, and I highly recommend that you definitely share information if you have other people in your family that may be suffering from similar illnesses. You have to share information, because again, like I mentioned before, a lot of the medical world out there, they're not gonna hold your hand. They are not gonna volunteer information. And I went to school for clinical massage therapy, so that's pretty much somewhat of being in the medical the medical world. So I know firsthand, and I always would tell my mom to make sure she asks a lot of questions. You have to ask a lot of questions, because the people are not gonna volunteer. They don't even have time to volunteer a lot of information, even if they wanted to, because again, they're doing their job, they're doing a job, and they're just trying to get to the next patient or the next person that they have to assist or help. And so they don't want to slow themselves down by just sitting there giving you a consultation and providing you with all this additional information that you didn't even ask to receive. They're not going to volunteer that. I can't stress that enough. So if you don't get any other message today, is to remember to ask lots of questions. Write them down before you go in to speak to your doctor, or if you're having a consultation with your doctor by phone, that's even easier, where you can write down all your questions or anything that you want to say, because the doctor is very limited in his time that he has to spend with you on the phone or in person. So be prepared, be proactive, and write down the questions ahead of time. And don't be scared or don't be afraid to ask a question that you think may be a stupid question, because it may not, or even if it is a stupid question to you, you still can get the answer that you need, or a answer. So the thing is, you want to mainly stay positive, when you're dealing with the diagnosis itself, even though it may be very hard, and you want to definitely ask for prayers. Prayers are very, very useful. They're very needed, and they're very strong when you have multiple people praying for you at the same time, whether it's in person or not. When you have groups of people that's praying, all that energy at once is gonna come into your world and do good things. And if you have faith, and hopefully you do, you'll be able to see those prayers working in your life, I think, right away, almost immediately. But having faith, that's very important, having faith. So, and being positive is one of the most important factors when it comes to having faith, I think, because many positive things will happen in your life if you're believing it. If you believe that things will happen in your life, that's the perfect way to start anything, is with a positive attitude. So I always try to stay positive. It's easy for me. It's not something that I have to practice at, and hopefully you won't have to practice at it either. Just be a believer and be proactive. Don't just sit down and let things happen to you without a fight. So I encourage you, like I encourage myself, to keep going, keep moving, stay positive, try to get sun every day. Don't stay in the sun directly too long, but get some sunshine in your life, maybe watch some comedy, laugh, surround yourself with good people, positive people, family and friends if possible, and try not to spend too much time alone. Uh, Spending time alone is fine, but spending too much time alone, I don't know about that. In my opinion, anyway, it's not too good to always spend too much time alone. That's just the way I feel. But again, this is my first video of many videos that I will continue to share my experiences in dealing with congestive heart failure. Recently, I went to the cardiologist and they pinpointed it to be what's called cardiac hypertension. I've never heard of cardiac hypertension. And my primary doctor asked me, "Did they tell you that it was cardiac hypertension?" I said, "No, they never mentioned that to me, and that's the first time I'm hearing of it. So maybe this will be the first time you're hearing of it." But now I'm going to be doing more research to learn exactly what cardiac hypertension is. And I know that it has something to do with the left side of the heart and blood not being able to pump efficiently, not not having enough blood in the left side of the heart that's pumping efficiently. And my primary doctor did mention that he believes that the lung issue of not being able to breathe is actually is tied into the cardiac hypertension. So that made plenty of sense to me when he mentioned that, because I just couldn't understand why I was having, you know, all these bad breathing issues. And then he did recommend an inhaler. I mean, he did prescribe an inhaler, like an emergency inhaler. So I will let you know that. Um, if you come up with this condition, they'll usually prescribe you an emergency inhaler, because like I said, I did not have any lung issues before this. I did not have asthma. I didn't even know how to use an inhaler. I had to call my friend, my friend who does have asthma, and ask her how to use an inhaler. And even though I did read the directions, if you could believe it, were incorrect that I was given for this particular inhaler. And they had me on what's called a albuterol. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Albuterol. That's the steroid that they had me on. I only had to use it 3 times, and I had reservations with, of course, using the steroid, but I'd rather breathe, so I got over that pretty quickly. And I didn't know what I was doing at first, so I think the first couple of sprays didn't even go into my lungs. But that's why it's good to have a friend or family to reach out to, because it was late at night when I had to reach out to her and ask her how to use that. Because again, as a cardiac patient, as a congestive heart failure patient, usually at night is the most difficult time that we have, because from what I understand, the adrenaline, when our adrenaline goes down, it makes it much harder for us to be able to breathe, because I guess our bodies are trying to be at rest during that time, so your adrenaline is not pumping the same way as it is when you're walking around in the daytime, up and active and, you know, going about your day. So you it's always nice to have someone on that you can call, you know, to be able to ask questions about certain things that may already be dealing with those kind of issues. Like I was able to ask her how to use the inhaler. But again, this video is getting long now, so I'll go ahead and get ready to sign off. And again, I want to thank everyone for visiting my channel, my new channel, Labrina Hart Speaks. And I hope that I was able to help at least one person that was viewing this. And hopefully, eventually, it will be able to help a lot more people that come across it. Please share, like, and subscribe so that you can be contacted when I put out my next video, which there will be several videos followed up by this one. And I'll try to maybe do, I would say, one, if not two videos a week. I'm not really sure which days yet. But hopefully I was able to share some information to enlighten you again about congestive heart failure. And in my case, specifically, it's cardiomegaly, if I'm saying that correctly, which means enlarged heart, as I mentioned before, and cardiac hypertension, which I most recently mentioned more specifically. So you can actually be diagnosed with all the above, all of them. And I understand that it also falls under the umbrella of heart disease. But definitely do your own research. I'm here to just shed light on the experience of actually living with it. If you know someone with this condition, please be understanding and be there for them as much as possible. And it's tough, and a lot of times people just need someone to talk to, or someone to just listen to them, so that they can open up and share their experiences, or it's just nice to have someone to talk to. You never really know what a person's going through, and especially having a terminal illness is very difficult, because it just makes it harder to stay positive. So they need all the support that they can get, from you. Even if you're suffering from something, you guys can hold each other up and, be a positive light in each other's world. So again, I thank you so much for stopping by Labrina Hart Speaks. And until the next time, please share, like, and subscribe this video, because you'll never know who you might touch or who you might help just by simply sharing the video. And I do have a GoFundMe fundraiser that I'm doing for anyone that would like to help me fight this good fight against this condition. I am considered disabled now, which I did not ever see myself being a disabled person. So that really messed my head up, knowing that I'm even considered to be disabled at age 45, just pretty much overnight. So again, I have the links links below if you'd like to donate um, and share my story with others. I have the GoFundMe link below. I also have my Venmo code below, as well as my Zelle. And I thank you very much, and I appreciate your time for you stopping by to learn more about congestive heart failure and some of the symptoms and signs that you know would experience, because you definitely need to be aware of that, the signs, and even heart attack signs. Usually the heart attack signs are left arm, left shoulder, so just be aware of that as well. And until the next time, Labrina Hart Speaks, over and out.